What happens when one of the most respected actresses in the world walks onto a stage built for debate and decides she's not there to play along? The lights are already blazing when she steps out. There's a ripple through the audience, not loud, not chaotic, just a shift. The kind that happens when presence alone changes the atmosphere. Conversations stall. Applause builds, but it's uneven, like people are unsure whether to celebrate or brace themselves. Meryl Streep smiles. It's poised, measured, but there's something else beneath it. Something sharper, something that doesn't quite match the usual warmth expected on daytime television. And at the table, the panel notices. Joy leans slightly forward, eyebrows lifting in anticipation. Whoopi tilts her head, already reading the room like a seasoned conductor, sensing a change in tempo. Sunny Hostin sits upright, her hands folded, but her eyes are alert, calculating. She knows interviews like this can pivot in seconds. Because sometimes a guest doesn't come to entertain. Sometimes they come to say something. The host introductions begin, light, polished, familiar. Compliments about Meryl's career. Mentions of her latest project. Laughter that feels just a fraction too rehearsed. Meryl nods, gracious as always. She thanks them. She plays along. At first. So Meryl, Joy begins, smiling wide, you've played so many powerful women over the years. Do you feel like Hollywood is finally catching up to the kind of roles women deserve? It's a safe question. An easy one. The kind that keeps things moving. Meryl tilts her head slightly, as if considering it carefully. Catching up? She repeats softly. There's a pause. Not long, but long enough. I think, she continues, her voice calm but precise, Hollywood doesn't catch up. It reacts. Usually late. A few chuckles ripple through the audience. The panel nods. So far, so good. Sunny leans in next. But isn't that progress still something to celebrate? I mean, we've seen major changes, more representation, more voices being heard. Have we? Meryl interrupts gently. And just like that, the air shifts. It's subtle, almost polite, but it lands. Sunny blinks, just for a moment, caught off guard. Not by the question itself, but by the way it was delivered. There's no aggression in Meryl's tone. No hostility. Just certainty. Well, yes, Sunny replies, recovering quickly. I mean, statistically, there's been. Statistics can tell a story, Meryl says, her eyes now locked onto Sunny's. But they don't always tell the truth. A murmur moves through the audience. Whoopi shifts in her seat, watching closely now. Joy glances sideways, sensing something is unfolding beyond the usual rhythm of the show. Sunny's posture stiffens slightly. Are you saying the progress isn't real? I'm saying, Meryl replies, leaning forward just enough to change the dynamic completely, that sometimes we celebrate progress because it's easier than questioning the system that needed fixing in the first place. Silence. Not total, but heavy. You can feel it pressing against the edges of the studio. The kind of silence that doesn't happen on live television, because it's usually edited out. But this is live, and no one interrupts her. Joy clears her throat lightly. Well, that's certainly a perspective, she says, trying to bring back a lighter tone. But don't you think conversations like this, like the ones we have here, are part of that progress? Meryl turns to her and smiles again, but this time it's different. I think conversations are important, she says, but only if they're honest. There's a flicker across Joy's face. Just a flicker. What are you implying? Sunny asks, her voice now more direct. The tension is no longer subtle. It's visible. Meryl doesn't rush her answer. She looks at each of them, one by one, as if weighing something deeper than the question itself. I'm not implying anything, she says quietly. I'm asking, when was the last time any of us said what we really think, without worrying about how it would be received? That lands harder than anything she's said so far. Because it's not just directed at the panel. It's directed at everyone. The audience shifts. A few people glance at each other. There's an unease now, an awareness that this is no longer just an interview. This is something else. Sunny leans forward again, her composure tightening. I speak my mind every day on this show. Meryl nods slowly. Do you? The question hangs in the air. Simple. Sharp. Unavoidable. Sunny opens her mouth to respond, but pauses. And in that pause, something cracks. Not visibly. Not dramatically. But enough. Whoopi finally steps in, her voice calm but firm. All right, let's take a breath here, she says, giving a small smile to diffuse the tension. We're getting into some deep waters early on. The audience laughs lightly, grateful for the release. But Meryl doesn't lean back. She doesn't retreat. Instead, she folds her hands in her lap and says, I don't think we're deep enough. And that's the moment everything changes. Because now it's clear. She's not here to promote a film. She's not here to play the role of the gracious guest. She's here to challenge the room. And no one at the table is fully prepared for it. Sunny exhales slowly, recalibrating. Okay, she says, her tone measured but firmer now. Let's go there. What do you think we're not saying? The audience leans in. The cameras feel closer. Even the crew behind the scenes has gone still. Meryl looks directly at her. And for a moment, there's something almost compassionate in her expression. I think, she begins, we've become very good at talking around things. At framing them in ways that feel acceptable. Safe, but not necessarily true. Joy crosses her arms slightly. You're saying we're being fake? I'm saying, Meryl replies, that sometimes honesty is uncomfortable, and we've built entire systems to avoid that discomfort. Sunny's voice sharpens. And you think we're doing that here? Meryl doesn't hesitate. Yes. The word lands like a stone dropped into still water. The ripples are immediate. The audience gasps softly but audibly. Joy's eyebrows shoot up. Whoopi leans back, watching now with a different kind of focus. Sunny's expression tightens, but she doesn't back down. That's a strong accusation. It's not an accusation, Meryl says. It's an observation. Based on what? Sunny presses. Meryl pauses. And then, she answers. Based on what's not being said. Silence again. But this time it's heavier. Because now it's not just tension. It's confrontation. And no one knows exactly where it's going next. If you're watching this right now, you're probably feeling it too. That shift, that moment where something ordinary turns into something unforgettable. So before we go any further, take a second. Hit that subscribe button for stage view, drop a like, and tell us in the comments what you think so far. Because trust me, this is only the beginning. Back at the table, the energy has changed completely. Sunny leans back slightly, studying Meryl now instead of challenging her outright. Joy taps her pen lightly against the table, a small, nervous habit creeping in. Whoopi remains still, but her eyes are locked on Meryl with quiet intensity. All right, Whoopi says finally, her voice cutting through the silence. Let's get specific. What's not being said? Meryl turns to her. And for the first time since she sat down, there's no smile. Only focus. You want specifics? She says. And the room seems to hold its breath. Okay, she continues. Let's talk about power. The word echoes. Not loudly, but deeply. And just like that, the interview crosses a line it can't uncross. The word power hangs in the air like a warning bell. The studio lights seem sharper, the microphones heavier, as if the very equipment is sensing the shift. The audience sits forward in their seats. Some lean in, straining to catch every syllable, as though the next words might shatter their understanding of what this show could be. Meryl Streep sits perfectly still, her hands folded, eyes scanning the panel one by one. Power, she repeats, slower this time. It's not just in boardrooms or politics. It's here, in every story we tell, every interview we conduct, every narrative we choose to amplify, and every one we choose to ignore. Sunny Hostin exhales audibly, a small signal that she's bracing for impact. Meryl, that's a sweeping statement. Are you implying that we, the media, this panel, are complicit in this? Yes, Meryl says, without hesitation. Her voice is calm, almost soothing, but the weight behind it is undeniable. Complicit. Not out of malice, not necessarily, but because it's easier to nod along, to keep the show moving, to protect reputations, to avoid discomfort. The camera lingers on Sunny's face. Her jaw tightens. She's a master of discourse, yet here, she seems caught mid-step, unsure whether to push back or let the words settle. That's a lot to take in, she says carefully. You think all of this, our questions, our conversations, lack honesty? Meryl leans forward slightly, just enough to close the invisible distance between speaker and listener. I think honesty isn't a habit anymore. It's a radical act. And when someone practices it, it makes people uncomfortable. You may feel attacked, but it's not personal. It's systemic. It's everywhere. The audience is silent, hanging on every word. A few shift nervously, caught between admiration and unease. Whoopi's expression has sharpened now, her face a mask of both curiosity and caution. Joy's fingers drum on the table lightly, a tension that can't be concealed. I've spent my life telling stories, Meryl continues, her voice low but unwavering. Stories about women, about men, about the spaces in between. And I've realized something very simple. The stories we tell define the reality people believe. If the story is incomplete, if the uncomfortable truths are edited out, then we're not just avoiding the truth. We're erasing it. Sunny finally leans forward again, her voice controlled but insistent. You're saying this panel, this show, is erasing truths? Meryl doesn't flinch. I'm saying it happens everywhere. People nod along. People applaud progress. They pat themselves on the back. But underneath that applause, the structures remain the same. And until we name them, we can't begin to change them. Joy shifts uncomfortably. You're pointing a finger at all of us here, she says, voice tight, almost defensive. But isn't that unfair? We cover stories. We debate. We give voices a platform. Meryl's gaze is steady, almost piercing. Yes, you give voices a platform. But are you amplifying the uncomfortable voices? The ones that make you question your own comfort? Or are you carefully curating narratives that feel safe, palatable, celebratory? The air grows thick. A studio camera catches every subtle reaction. The audience stirs quietly, murmuring among themselves. Whoopi leans back, exhaling slowly, clearly calculating her next move. Sunny's hands clench together on the table, knuckles white. Joy's pen stops moving. The panel feels the unspoken rule breaking before them. Meryl Streep is no longer participating in their choreography. She is rewriting it. Sunny tries again, her tone firm but measured. So, what would honesty look like to you? What are we failing to ask? Meryl smiles faintly, the kind of smile that both soothes and unsettles. You could start by asking questions that matter, not the ones that comfort. Ask about what's uncomfortable in Hollywood. About inequality, about bias, about power and privilege in the spaces you inhabit. Don't ask about red carpets and box office numbers, as if that's the whole story. Go deeper. Challenge yourselves. Challenge your audience. Challenge me. Joy exhales sharply, a mixture of frustration and awe. That sounds exhausting, she says. It's necessary, Meryl says simply. Exhausting, yes, but necessary. The audience reacts now, soft gasps, whispers, a ripple of recognition passing through the crowd. Some nod slowly, understanding. Some lean back, uneasy with the confrontation. The tension is tangible. You could cut it with a knife. Sunny's eyes narrow slightly, still processing, still searching for her footing. So when you speak of challenging, that includes us here? Meryl meets her gaze squarely. Yes, all of you, and everyone watching. Challenging is uncomfortable. But if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. You're not being honest. Whoopi shifts, breaking the silence. Meryl, that's a lot to unpack in one sitting. You're asking the show, the audience, the panel, to rethink the whole framework of conversation we operate in. Are you suggesting we start from scratch? Meryl leans back slightly, letting the words sink in. Not from scratch. From truth. Even when it's messy. Even when it makes people defensive. That's the only way forward. The cameras pan across the panel, capturing the subtle tension in every expression. Sunny exhales, shaking her head slightly. You're challenging the very structure of this show, she murmurs. Yes, Meryl replies softly. And if you can't be challenged here, where else can you be? The audience is now fully entranced, murmuring and exchanging glances. There's a crackling energy in the room, the kind that precedes something monumental. Because in that moment, it's clear. This is no longer just a daytime TV interview. This is a reckoning. Joy fidgets, pushing herself slightly back in her chair. All right, she says finally, her voice tight but composed. Let's try this. Meryl, if we take your challenge seriously, what would that look like right now? The pause that follows is almost unbearable. Meryl's eyes sweep the room, pausing on Sunny, on Whoopi, on Joy, on the audience. And then she speaks, deliberate, unwavering. It would mean speaking openly. Honestly, fearlessly, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it disrupts the rhythm you've built here, even when the world expects you to keep the show moving at all costs. A hush descends. Even the cameras seem to lean in, and the audience feels it. They are witnessing something they were never expecting, a masterclass in presence, in authority, in confrontation without aggression. And somewhere, deep in the studio, the unspoken tension tightens. The kind that makes everyone aware of the fragile line between civility and chaos. Meryl leans slightly forward once more, voice calm but final. I'm not here to offend. I'm here to illuminate. to push beyond the rehearsed questions, the pre-approved answers. If that makes people uncomfortable, good. Then we're talking about things that matter. The panel is silent now, caught in the gravity of her words. The audience waits, suspended on the edge of their seats. And then, without warning, Meryl delivers the line that cements the moment. I didn't come here to nod along. I came here to be honest. And if you can't handle that, then perhaps you're not ready for this conversation. The camera cuts to Sunny, her eyes widening, fingers tightening on the table. Whoopi exhales, leaning back, a mixture of awe and apprehension on her face. Joy exhales sharply, silently acknowledging the undeniable truth in those words. And the studio, once warm and familiar, now feels like a battlefield. Every person in the audience knows they are witnessing a rare phenomenon. One of the greatest actors of our time not only commanding the room, but challenging its very structure, its rules, its comfort zones. The energy is electric, taut, unyielding, because when Meryl Streep decides to speak, everyone listens, and no one walks away unchanged. The air in the studio is taut, like the moment before a storm breaks. Meryl Streep sits poised, her presence a quiet but unstoppable force. She doesn't move, doesn't shift. She simply lets her words hang, heavy and deliberate, and the tension swirls around the panel like smoke in slow motion. Sunny Hostin exhales, still trying to ground herself. Her voice is controlled, though a sharp edge has crept in. You've called us out, Meryl. You've challenged everything we do, everything we represent. So tell me, what happens next? How do we actually have this conversation? Meryl leans forward slightly, eyes glinting with the calm intensity that has defined her career. Next, she asks. Next, you stop pretending the easy questions are enough. You don't let discomfort push you away. You lean into it. You ask the questions that could hurt reputations, expose hypocrisies, make people squirm. That is when real dialogue begins. Joy shifts in her seat, unease crossing her features. You make it sound so seismic, like an earthquake in a teacup. It's seismic, Meryl says softly, because every teacup has cracks. Every platform, every panel, every story, it's all fragile. And pretending it isn't fragile only ensures that the structures stay the same. Sunny leans back, her expression a mixture of defensiveness and fascination. And you think calling this out on live television, what? Makes a difference? Changes the system? Yes, Meryl responds without hesitation. Because real change begins with awareness. With naming the uncomfortable truth in a space where everyone is watching. If it rattles people, good. That's the point. The studio is silent again, but the silence is different this time. It's heavy with anticipation. Every eye in the room is locked on her. The audience shifts uneasily, sensing the gravity of what's happening. This isn't a lighthearted chat anymore. This is confrontation wrapped in eloquence, in intellect, in undeniable authority. Joy's voice tightens. Meryl, that's intense. Some might say you're attacking the people here. I'm not attacking anyone, Meryl says, her voice calm, even as it slices through the tension like a scalpel. I'm observing. I'm questioning. I'm asking. Are we brave enough to be honest, even when it's uncomfortable? Sunny finally straightens, her tone firmer now, challenging, yet careful. And if we're not, if we can't handle that kind of honesty, Meryl meets her gaze squarely, then we have to admit our limits, our fear of truth, our need to stay comfortable at all costs. And that, my friends, is the problem. The audience shifts in their seats. Some are nodding, silent acknowledgement in their expressions. Some are wide-eyed, almost holding their breath, caught in the tension like prey in a predator's gaze. Whoopi leans forward, breaking the thickening tension with her voice, calm but forceful. Meryl, you've made it clear you're not here to play along. But what you're doing, what you're asking, how do you see it affecting the people watching this right now? Meryl tilts her head slightly, considering. It will make them uncomfortable, yes. Maybe angry, maybe defensive, but it will also make them think. And thinking, truly thinking about why we act the way we do, is the first step toward change. That is the responsibility of anyone with a voice, to provoke, to question, to illuminate. Sunny's fingers drum against the table lightly, a nervous rhythm. And what about the backlash? She asks, voice low but deliberate. You know this isn't going to sit well with everyone. Some people are going to see this as overstepping. Meryl's eyes flick briefly to the camera, then back to the panel. I know, and I accept that. If speaking the truth invites criticism, so be it. But if silence keeps the status quo intact, we are complicit. That is far worse. The tension in the room reaches a new height. The audience leans forward instinctively, as if drawn into a vortex. They are not just observers, they are participants in the reckoning unfolding before them. Every word Meryl utters shifts the weight of the conversation. Every pause reverberates. Every subtle glance is charged with meaning. Joy exhales sharply, her voice quieter now. This is beyond anything we've experienced on this show. I mean, the tone, the intensity, I don't even know how to respond sometimes. Then that's exactly why it's necessary, Meryl replies, voice measured. Because if you can't respond, if you can't answer honestly, then maybe you haven't been asking the right questions. Maybe you've been hiding behind politeness and performance. Sunny's jaw tightens, her voice now unwavering. So, you're basically saying we've been performing? Meryl doesn't flinch. Yes, but not with malice. With habit. With fear of discomfort. With the assumption that applause equates to truth. The audience reacts audibly this time, a mix of murmurs, soft gasps, and whispered agreement. The energy is palpable. Even behind the cameras, the crew is leaning in, sensing the extraordinary nature of the moment. This isn't just television. This is a masterclass in commanding presence, in speaking truth, in holding space in a world built on pretense. Joy folds her arms, finally breaking the silence. And what about us as individuals? As people hosting this show? How are we supposed to change? Meryl's gaze softens for the first time, a flicker of warmth beneath the unrelenting intensity. Start by listening, she says. Not just hearing. Listening. Listen to yourself. Listen to each other. Listen to the voices you've been afraid to amplify. And when you do speak, speak without the safety nets. Speak with courage. That is the only way to honor the truth. Whoopi exhales, a mix of admiration and tension in her posture. That's not easy. It's not supposed to be, Meryl says. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But honesty is rarely easy. And the work of changing narratives, of challenging systems, is even harder. That's why so few are willing to do it. Sunny shifts, leaning forward, her face thoughtful. And if we do it? If we take this seriously? What then? Meryl's eyes sweep the room again, settling briefly on each panelist. Then you start something bigger than a show. You start a conversation that can't be ignored. You create ripples that reach far beyond this table, far beyond the studio, far beyond the audience in this room. You spark change where it matters most, inside the hearts and minds of those watching. The room falls into silence, but this time it's reverent. The audience is caught in the gravity of the words, feeling the weight of the challenge. The panelists exchange glances, subtle acknowledgement passing between them. This moment is historic, not for its controversy, but for the audacity, clarity, and courage it embodies. Meryl sits back slightly, the intensity unbroken but softened with measured poise. I didn't come here to disrupt for the sake of drama, she says quietly. I came here to remind everyone, panel, audience, viewers, that truth, no matter how uncomfortable, is always worth the risk. A murmur moves through the audience, a wave of recognition and awe. People are nodding, whispering to one another, as if agreeing silently that they are witnessing something rare. And in that moment, it's clear. Meryl Streep hasn't just silenced the panel. She has commanded a reckoning. She has taken the familiar format, the expected rhythms, and transformed them into a mirror reflecting the truths everyone avoids. The stage is no longer just a set for conversation. It is a battlefield of ideas, courage, and accountability. And at the center, unyielding, is Meryl Streep, masterful, fearless, unforgettable. The silence after Meryl's words lingers longer than anyone expected. Even the cameras seem to pause, capturing the raw weight of what just happened. The audience is frozen, their eyes wide, some leaning forward in disbelief, others whispering to their neighbors. You can feel it. Collectively, everyone in that studio knows they've witnessed something rare. Something that doesn't happen on daytime television. Sunny Hostin exhales slowly, her voice measured but tight. Meryl, that was intense. She stops mid-sentence, searching for words, realizing that no pre-written talking points could navigate this. I need a moment to process. Joy is still shifting in her chair, arms folded. The pen she'd been drumming with lying forgotten on the table. I don't even know where to start, she admits, voice low, a mixture of awe and exhaustion. This is like a whole new level of conversation. Whoopi leans back, eyes narrowed but thoughtful. Yeah, she didn't just challenge us. She challenged the entire room. The whole setup. The audience. The system. And somehow she did it without yelling. Without screaming. Without attacking. That takes a kind of authority most people don't have. Meryl finally leans back, letting the tension ease slightly but not entirely. Her calm is deliberate, almost magnetic. "I didn't come here to silence anyone," she says softly. "I came to open the space for honesty. If it feels like silence, that's just the weight of truth settling in. Let it settle. Let it breathe. Let it grow." The camera pans across the audience, catching reactions. Some are nodding slowly, others shaking their heads in disbelief. A few are recording on their phones, knowing this is a moment they'll replay, share, dissect. Social media is already beginning to buzz in real time. Clips of Meryl's calm, piercing challenge to Sunny, Joy, and Whoopi are being shared across platforms with captions like, "Meryl Streep just dropped the mic on The View," and "Did you see what she said?" Sunny exhales and finally speaks, the words slower now, tempered by reflection. "I get it. I really do. It's uncomfortable, but that's because it's real. And real is messy." Joy nods, voice soft but determined. And maybe that's the point. Maybe we've all been settling for safe conversations for too long. Maybe we need to embrace this intensity. Because if this is what it takes to shake things up, to force honesty, then we owe it to ourselves and our audience to try. Whoopi leans forward one last time, a small smile forming. "Meryl, you didn't just come here to be a guest. You came here to be a wake-up call. And trust me, we all felt it." The audience erupts in applause, not the polite kind that fills a studio at a commercial break, but the kind that rises up, visceral and spontaneous. People are clapping, standing, some laughing softly at the mix of tension and awe. It's the energy of collective realization, the thrill of watching someone hold the room and force it to confront itself. Meryl smiles faintly, acknowledging the response without saying a word. The panel is still processing, but something subtle has shifted. They've been challenged, and they will carry it forward in ways both immediate and long-lasting. As the cameras continue to roll, capturing the stunned but reflective faces of the hosts and audience alike, the realization settles in. This conversation will not be forgotten. Clips and quotes are already spreading online, igniting debates, praise, and admiration across social media. Headlines will frame it as "Meryl Streep silences the View panel." But anyone who witnessed it knows the truth. She didn't silence them, she made them listen. And beyond the studio, the ripple begins. Discussions flare in comment sections, social feeds, and news outlets. Viewers dissect every word, sharing their interpretations, their own feelings of discomfort, revelation, and admiration. The story of the day isn't just Meryl's challenge. It's the collective awakening she provoked. Meryl turns to the panel one final time, voice soft but carrying unmistakable weight. Remember this feeling. Remember what it is to be uncomfortable and aware. Let it guide your conversations, your choices, your stories. Because that is the difference between reflection and complacency. The panel nods slowly, acknowledgement in their eyes. They may not yet have all the answers, but the questions, raw, probing, and unflinching, have been laid bare. The audience rises, cheering again, and the applause continues even as the credits roll. Social media notifications explode. Headlines will call it dramatic, confrontational, shocking. But those who witnessed it live know it was something rarer. A masterclass in authority, courage, and the relentless pursuit of truth. As viewers at home, you've just watched one of the most unforgettable television moments of the year unfold. What do you think? Did Meryl Streep's challenge change the conversation, or push it too far? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know if you felt the intensity, the discomfort, the truth. And don't forget to subscribe to Stage View for more stories like this. Stories that capture the drama, the tension, and the unforgettable moments when celebrities speak honestly, fiercely, and unflinchingly. Because moments like this, they don't just happen. They're witnessed, and they're remembered.